All right, what's going on, everybody? This is another C1 preview with the same guys. We're just going to go over it real fast. Not real fast, actually. It's going to be a little long. But yeah, so we're just going to kind of go over what we did last week. We're going to start off with just kind of a review of last week, actually. So just a little bit of the picks. We're going to start with the picks here. Luke went 5-3 last week. Ryan went 6-2, and I went 7-1. What do you guys? What's the takeaway for your guys' predictions last week? What was surprising? What were you guys taking away from that?
Biggest surprise to me was the Boys Town Cozad game. I thought Cozad was going to put up more of a fight in that one. It didn't really surprise me that Boys Town won at all, but it did surprise me that it was by such a big margin.
Yeah,
I would say my biggest takeaway, I need to apologize to the fine people of Sydney, Nebraska. In hindsight and retrospect, I decided to burn all my Cabela's sweatshirts. I hope I can make it up to them and be a proud Sydney supporter after I picked them to be upset, and they did not. So kudos to them. I love you, Sydney, Nebraska.
yeah, that's how you handle it there. But we'll go over the fantasy teams. They aren't all the way done, so this is just kind of what we have right now. Each of us have three or four players who have the stats up, but we'll go over the standings right now. Ryan in third place with 66.38 points. Luke has 77.2, and I have 100.2. Quinn Bailey really elevated that. He had a huge game. He had 65 points. So we're waiting on some Central City. We're just gonna go at this point. We're just gonna go into the preview.
And I can tell you, Luke Mchargue did not put up a lot of points in Central City. So sorry about that one, Ryan.
Did he get
It's all right.
any
I
points?
forgive you, Luke.
All right, so we're gonna start off heading over to the number one seed, Sydney versus number eight Shatter, and this is a rematch of 2 weeks ago, actually, where Sydney already won that game, 14-0. I'll let someone start on this one.
Yeah, as you said, 14-0 last time these two teams played. Sydney really is a team that likes to win with their defense. They have arguably the best defense in all of Class C1. They came to the playoffs allowing just 6.2 points per game. So last time, big reason they were able to win was just they were able to hold Quinn Bailey in check. And that's really all you can do against Shadron. If you can hold him in check, you're in a really good position to win the game.
Yeah, definitely. I would echo that. The last time they played each other, 100 yards, 4.3 per carry was all that Bailey was able to muster in that one. You look at, when they lost to Gehring held them to 156 yards. Every other game far surpassed that, and they've won the football game. So, definitely, I feel like everybody out in that direction is probably hearing of Quinn Bailey, and that's kind of the talk in every game. But I think he is just that caliber of player that he's going to be the focus in this one, and they're going to have to stop him once again. And that's obviously easier said than done.
Yeah, I think any game with Quinn Bailey in it and the Shattering Cardinals in it, the key is Quinn Bailey, and that's my key, of course. Here, I want to go over some of the things that happened last game because that's the biggest dynamic here. Uh, Sydney did a good job of limiting him, as you said. He had 4.3 yards per carry, or no, 3.6 yards per carry, but or as a whole team, they had 3.6 yards per carry, and that was on 52 attempts. So that's 52 attempts is crazy to only allow 3.6 yards. So they have a fantastic run defense, but Quinn Bailey did have 100 yards on the ground. It's not. I like the 100 yards on the ground. I think that leaves up some potential for him to maybe blow up some explosive plays, and I think that's what the key is to this one. I think if he can really just get on the ground and pop a couple, maybe two or three 30-yard runs, I think they have a really good chance in this game. Uh, yeah, so we're gonna go over to the picks here. We're gonna start with Ryan here. Who do you got for this one?
Well, as I said, to the fine folks of Sydney, Nebraska, you made me a believer. I'm Team Sydney in this one. So my apologies to the fine folks of Chadron, Nebraska, but got to roll with Sydney in this one.
And Luke?
Yeah, I'm also gonna take Sydney in this one. I think if they can get Shadron into a position where late in the game they have to throw the ball, that's really good for them. Hasn't gone really well for them when they've had to, just 55% completion percentage, 8 touchdowns to 6 interceptions for their young sophomore quarterback. So I think if Sydney can get them into positions where they have to throw the ball, I think they'll be able to do that, and I think they're going to control this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go opposite to you guys. I think Shatterin can win this game if Quinn Bailey gets those runs, and I think that he will. Last game, actually, Sydney did not score in the second half, and I thought Shatterin did a good enough job holding that offense. I think that they can redo that again, and I think they can really take this game. It's going to be another 14-0 or 14-7 type of game, but I have Shatterin in this one. And we're gonna go to number four Lakeview versus number five Central City. Um, this is a huge game for you, Luke. I imagine there's some nerves here. I'm gonna let you guys start with this one again, since this is your guys' team. What do you have for this one?
Yeah, this is a really big game for Central City. They have played Lakeview and JV, and my class I know played them all the way up through middle school, and even played against them when we were in fifth and sixth grade in the KFO League. So very familiar with a lot of the people down there in Lakeview, and there's been some really competitive games. So it's gonna be really exciting. It's gonna be a really closely contested match.
Yeah, one of
Definitely,
my
I would agree with that. I think there's a lot of excitement coming into this one. A familiar opponent. Central City and Lakeview play each other in a lot of different sports, see each other in a lot of different things. So, the name familiarity is there, close proximity, and that's one of the things I love about as you look at the C1 playoff bracket is it kind of worked out to where we're getting these close matchups. Same neck of the woods and these matchups, and then it will expand from there. Central City, Lakeview, it's going to be an exciting one. You look at what Lakeview's been able to do throughout the year, be undefeated at this point. But I still, what I went back to last week was I didn't know if Fort Calhoun had seen an offensive threat like they see with Central City, and I think we might see some of that, in this one as well. To where Lakeview has certainly an impressive resume, but have they seen an offense like Central City is going to bring to the table? And then on the flip side of that, is Central City going to be able to contain that rushing game of Lakeview? Last week they come out and run the ball really well against SCOTUS, throw for only like 32 yards, I think it was, but they didn't need to. They got the job done on the ground. Central City at times has struggled to contain the run, and see how that secondary performs, stopping the run on the edge, making those tackles downfield. And I'm just really excited to get to Friday night and be at Columbus Lakeview for that one, because it's going to be a really exciting football game. And, Central City fans, going back, looking at it from a historical standpoint, this is the round. This is where they trip up. This is where things go awry. So, from a historical standpoint, this is a big one. This is a really big one for the community of Central City. Bison football fans aren't used to making it through this round very successfully. So this could be the year to get it done. They have a lot to play for, a lot on the line, and both teams are going to come out slugging. So it should be a really good football game.
Yeah, this is going to be an awesome football game. This is my close second game of the week, I think. I have another one, but this one is going to be, I see this one as being the only one out of these four games that's going to be just a shootout, I think. I think this game is going to be very similar to that Lincoln Christian game. You got a high-powered offense, passing and running on both sides. Lakeview is just a fantastic running team, and I think Central City is a good passing team, as we've seen. And I think this game is going to light up the scoreboard. We're going to go into like some of the scheme differences in this game. I like Central City's offense in this one a lot, and I also like Lakeview's offense a lot in this one. I will start off with Lakeview. I think they have some guys. Their running back tandem of Brandon Deanda and Jacob Tensky is just awesome, and they're really hard runners. And it's just when you get into the third and fourth quarter, you don't want to tackle those guys. They're just hard to tackle, and they're not the tallest guys, but they're compact, and they're just really going to put their shoulder down. They're gonna make you work for every hit. And you got Blake Rothbone. He's a good player. He can really get it done through the air. So I don't think Lakeview is going to win this game through the air. Absolutely not. I don't think so. I think they're just going to keep running the ball. So I think a key to really limiting this Lakeview defense is a good, fast and instinctive linebackers because I saw a little bit of Lakeview. They aren't the greatest at climbing up to the second level. And I think if I don't know too much about the Central City linebackers, but I think that that's a big key in this one to stop the Lakeview offense, which is it's not easy to have fast and instinctive linebackers at every level in C1 football. But we'll move on to Central City's side. You guys know Parker Zickman, Wyatt Denton, Corbin Kaiser, just awesome. I think the key to them for their offense, I think they can really take control of this game if they get Corbin Kai's running, which is not going to be very easy. They have a really awesome defense, and I think that you saw Lakeview and SCOTUS that how that dynamic went, where was having some nice success passing the ball. There's a couple drops in there which kind of didn't translate to the box score, but I think that the Central City's passing offense is a lot more advanced than that SCOTUS offense. And yeah, so I think this game is going to be a light up the scoreboard type of game. And when you look at the schedules, Lakeview hasn't had that. And Central City has had a couple of those. So I like the experience in that type of game where it's going to be 50 to 50 in the fourth quarter. I like their experience. I think they can really just get it done. So we're going to go over to the picks now. We're going to start with Ryan, then Luke, and I'll finish it off. What do you have here, Ryan?
Yeah, so just to piggyback off what you said there, a little bit, I think, a player like Rathbone, and then I see, Turner Hankey or Coulter Looters, somebody coming up, from that interior receiving possession, somebody just making a play over the middle, busting free, being the play that wins it, after ground and pound, a lot of passing yards from Central City. I think it's going to be an exciting one. I got to go with Central City, though. I think that offense is going to make enough plays to get it done. I think the defense is going to be tested for sure, but I think Central City's offense prevails in this one.
Yeah, yeah. You guys have mentioned it. This is going to be a game of who can get the stops. It's going to be the opposite of what we just talked about with Sydney and Shadron, where that one's going to be a low scoring game, and it's which offense can just scrape across enough points to win. This one is the opposite. It's which defense can get enough stops. It might only take two or three stops, maybe generating a turnover, but it's just going to be these two defenses scratching and clawing it out, see who can get a few stops. Ryan, you mentioned the history of this one earlier. If they can win, this will be the first time since 1978 that Central City has been in the semifinals. And the last time they were in the quarterfinals was 2015. They lost to Wilbur Claytonia. So definitely historically a lot at stake here for Central City. But I'm also taking Central City in this one. I think the experience in the big games, high scoring games, and just Lakeview hasn't seen a team quite like Central City. O'Neill was a really big win for them. SCOTUS beating them twice was big wins for them, but those teams aren't quite like Central City with this high powered offense. So it's going to be a really interesting game to watch. And I think Central City is gonna put on a show here, and I think they're gonna pull out a win against Lakeview.
Another part I forgot to mention about this game is a little bit more scheme side. Lakeview is a team that they're going to run their stuff defensively. They're not going to really just change it up a lot. And I kind of seen a lot of that not really impact for that defense very well against SCOTUS. I think that if they're going to play in a vanilla type of defense and really just not send any creative pressures or blitzes or stunts, I think that Parker Zickman and Wyatt Dent are going to have a wild day. So With that being said, I am going to take Central City in this one. I think that they can just really get it done. I like this offense. I like the experience in the high-powered games. I got Central City. And now we're going to go over to the number 2 seed versus the number 7 seed, Ashland Greenwood and Auburn. This is another rematch game. Ashland beat Ashland Greenwood already beat them 41 to 13. Uh, we'll go into some of that stats of that first game because I think that first game is just the most important game when it comes to this one because it's a rematch, obviously. Uh, the first game, Ashland Greenwood had 2.6 yards allowed per carry. Ashland also had 2 interceptions as well. Uh, but Ashland did not have very much run success, which they didn't really run it that much because their quarterback was having such a crazy game. He had a really nice game. He went 20 for 26, 291 yards and 5 touchdown passes. And Thomas Spears really went at it that game as well. I think that Thomas Spears, if you can get him some more volume through these games, not this one in specific, they're really going to key in on him, I really assume, because he had 8 receptions, 143 yards, and 3 touchdowns. But I think they should keep riding with the Thomas Spears train. I think that over the course of his career, from the outside eye, he's been one of those players that you look at and man, he is awesome, but he's just not getting as much love as he should. That could be because of some of the players he's played with. He's had some awesome players to his side, and he can't really feed everybody. But I think that he's going to have another big game, or they're going to focus so much on him, and Cal Kissinger is going to be there. I think that it opens up Cal Kissinger for some one-on-one opportunities, and man, can he go up and get the football. So I really like that dynamic for this Ashland Greenwood offense. We'll go over to the Auburn side. Nixon Ligori, if they want a chance, he needs to get going on the ground because that's going to open up some of the passing situations as well. Junior Brenton Wetzel had 2 receptions for 46 yards last time. I think that maybe they can get him more involved. They can have a little more success. We'll pass this over to whoever wants to go next and talk about this game.
Yeah. Another interesting side to this one. These two teams have faced off in the basketball court a few times in the state playoffs. Two really good basketball programs as well. Auburn, obviously, with the numerous championships over the last decade. But shifting back over to the football side, I thought I predicted last week that they were going to really have a statement win over O'Neill. That didn't really happen. It was more of a really scratch and claw 9-7 win. So really close with O'Neill. I think this game would be a little more intriguing had that game gone a little bit differently, but just barely scraping out a win over O'Neill. I think it's going to be tough for them to keep pace with Ashland offensively. Their best player for Auburn, definitely Brant Galiza, both on offense and defense. He's just a total difference maker. So both sides of the ball, Ashland's just going to be trying to take him out of the game. Kind of like I mentioned with Shatter and Auburn, not a team built to throw the ball. So if they can get them in situations where they have to pass it, it's going to be really beneficial to Ashland. And Ashland can just hurt you so many ways offensively. Um, and they're battle tested too. They've played lots of really big games with wins over playoffs teams, DC West, SCOTUS, Auburn, Boys Town, and Roncalli. So really impressive schedule that Ashland's played. They've gone through a gauntlet, and I think they're gonna keep that train going, and it's gonna be a big win for them over Auburn, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I definitely see this, kind of similar to what I said with Central City and Columbus Lakeview. Can, in that scenario, can Lakeview contain Central City's offense? And I think we're going to see the same thing here. And I, agree with everything that Luke just said there. That's the question. Defense wins championships, but I don't know if we're seen quite a championship defense out of Auburn, to a point where they need to be to contain this Ashland Greenwood team. So, definitely, I think you guys covered pretty much everything there. But yeah, just a really intriguing matchup once again.
Yeah, I think that not looking too forward because of high school, you can't just look forward. It's a game by game type of football program, I guess. I don't know how to put that on. That was a little rough, but anyways, I think that they need to get their playmakers going in this one. I think they need to get everyone volume just so they can just get a feel. And I think that if they get that feel, and I think that they will, and get that ball spread around, I think Ashton Greenwood's going to take this one pretty handedly. Similar score. All right. The last game of these four matchups is number three Wahoo taking on number six Boys Town. This is my absolute game of the week here. I have a lot on this one, so I'm going to let you guys start, actually. Maybe you guys can cover a little bit so I'm not talking for too long.
Yeah, this is as far as the best football, this is gonna be a really good one to watch. Boys Town was so impressive last week, holding that Cozad offense to 0 points. And I've seen what that can do, what that offense can do with Noah Shoemaker at the helm. But they really just shut him down. That defensive front with Green, Fenoy, and Brewski. So I don't know if I'm saying all those names right, but that is a force up front on the D line. Just a really good defense for Boys Town. And then obviously you have Darian Whitaker on the other side, really good running back. And then Wahoo just ran through everybody on their schedule. 45.7 points margin of victory, average margin of victory during the regular season. Really just, I mean, we haven't really got to see what Wahoo's like in a closely contested game. And that's going to be interesting if Boys Town can keep it close into the fourth quarter. Boys Town is a little bit more experienced this year in those close games. So it'll be interesting to see what Wahoo's offense looks like in that kind of competitive setting where they have to actually throw the ball a little bit and they can't just salt the game away with Brigham.
I'm enjoying listening to you guys talk. I yield my time.
Yeah, I guess I'll go here. This, my biggest key in this game, my biggest dynamic in this game is that offense versus that defense. I think that you can say it both ways. Wahoo, they haven't faced a defense as good as Boys Town, and Boys Town has not faced a rushing unit as good as Wahoo. And we're gonna dive into some of the X's and O's in this type of stuff. Went and watched some film. I watched some film of that last Kozat game, actually. I liked the diversity of this Boys Town defense. They really just kind of threw everything at you. It was kind of like an unorthodox boxer almost. I liked they sent some different type of fronts. They had three fronts. They had four, and they rolled up number 21, Jaden Cook, in the box actually. So he played in the box a lot, and I really liked the way he played. He got after it. He got a sack, I believe. That was a pretty nice play. But it's a cornerback in the box, and he played awesome. I like the under route coverage he had as well. But one of the disadvantages I could see in this game, they had a certain formation where it was a three front and they had a zero tech and they had a five on the left side, and on that right side they had a very, very wide nine. And I think there was no tight end as well. He was about 7 yards off of that left tackle. And I think that if Coach Fox from Wahoo sees that, I think they're just gonna run that ball right in that open zone, and I think Kit Brigham is just going to take it. And but you also can look at it as a Boys Town. They can make an adjustment and they can just put guys in unpredictable spots, and that's just really hard as a offensive line unit to scheme your blocks. It's just hard, and I think that's where the Boys Town defense has been so successful. They just throw everything at you. Um, so. Yeah, that's kind of what I see in this game, and I think this game is just going to be very interesting to watch. I am going to swing by this one a little bit, so I'm excited to see what happens here. Uh, yeah, so I don't know what way this is going to go, but I'm super interested. What do you have for this one, Ryan?
I wish I could make it to this one. It would be really fun to watch. That's the only downfall to all these games happening on Friday nights. It's really exciting, but I just I cannot pick against Wahoo at this point. I just think from what I've seen out of them, they appear to be the best team in C1 right now. Of course, that can change any given week, any given matchup. But when I look at them, full body of work, looking, at what they've been able to accomplish on the offensive side, the defensive side, I just, I don't see them getting beat. But I've been wrong. I once picked against Sydney and that didn't work. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm going full Wahoo on this one.
And what do you have?
I'd also take Wahoo in this one. I actually had a conversation with coach in Class B recently, just this last Saturday. He told me he thought Wahoo would probably be a top 2 or 3 team in Class B. This is just a really good Wahoo team. One thing I want to touch on that I had written down in my notes, turnover margin on the year for them, 22 takeaways to just 3 turnovers. So that's a really impressive number, being plus 19 in the turnover margin on the season. I mean, that's just about unheard of. So they don't give the ball away and they take away the ball a lot. So Boys Town, key for them will be trying to take care of the ball. But I think Wahoo is just going to be overwhelming in this one. It's a really tough draw for Boys Town, getting a 6 seed and then being matched up across Wahoo, who happens to be a 3 seed because of the schedule they've played. But it'll be a big test for Wahoo, and I think what this game looks like will kind of tell you what the rest of the field might play out as for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, I am having a really tough time picking who I think is going to win this game. Uh, I think this game could be kind of similar to that Wahoo Boone Central type of game. I know it's last year, but that team, they have a lot of the same guys, and that's kind of like the closest game I can really see to how this might play out. Of course, you're not going to grasp on last year's game, but I think that some of the same guys, and they haven't really had a game that close to the same. They haven't had those low scoring games this year. The Ashland Greenwood, it was a close game. They turn over the ball a lot. They had some fumbles. They had an interception, I believe, but they managed to pull out in the end of the game, and they did well, and they rebounded off of that of some of those unfortunate mistakes. But since Wahoo is just on a streak, they've shown us yes they can win. Yes, they can win against a good team. They won against Ashland Greenwood. I'm going to have to go Wahoo here, but would not be surprised in the slightest if Boys Town goes out there and shuts them out and scores 7 points and wins this game. Yeah, so that's going to conclude the preview and prediction segment. So just like last week, we're going to do another fantasy draft. This time, the player pool slims down a little bit. It's going to take a little more strategy, uh, little more diamonds in the rough, I guess you could say. But yeah, we're gonna go by the rankings here. We're gonna give who's in last place right now first, and then the second, and then the number one, of course. But yeah, so we're gonna who gets the first pick? It's Ryan again. He's getting the first pick, and then it will be Luke, and then it's in snake draft as well. So I'll get two there. All right, for the
Perfect.
first
Well, in that
pick.
case, last week I went Corbin guys, first pick. No knock on Corbin, but just so I can sleep well at night. Got to get my man Parker Zickman into the mix. So first pick, Parker Zickman, quarterback, Central City.
Yeah, he's high on my big board just because of that. As we talked about earlier, that offense I think is gonna have a good day.
Yeah, last week I went with a homer pick with Wyatt Dent. This week I'm gonna use my head instead of my heart, and I'm gonna take Quentin Bailey from Shadron.
Yeah, he did. exceptionally well last week. A slight 65 point performance. But
Not too busy.
I am actually going to take the Wyatt Dent pick here. I'm going to take him. So I think that he's going to have a really good game. And then for my second pick, this is where it gets tough. After these first three, I think it gets pretty hard because of these matchups. But I am going to take Thomas Spears. He had an awesome game last week or last time they played Auburn. I think that he can replicate that this time. And then now Luke has his second pick.
Um, well, I like the way this shakes out. I'm gonna take Corbin Kais from Central City with second pick.
And that leads to Ryan gets two here.
Oh, I got two.
Yep.
I better put some thought into this.
Definitely one of those drafts. I think the receivers have some more upside. There is some
I think
good
there's a
running
bit of
back
a
options, but I think the receivers are have destined to have a big week this week.
Yeah, and that is one of my picks that I'm going to take. I'm going to stick with him. I believe I had him last week anyway. Landon Riddle out there in Sydney.
You did. He had 16.1 points last week, so he contributed. That's a plenty points for a fantasy team.
good pick.
And with my second pick, let's go Kip Bingham. Wahoo.
Yeah, I think that if they can get him going, he's going to have his typical big game. Now Luke is up.
Um, one more really good receiver on the board to me, and it's another guy from Ashland Green, but I'm gonna take Cal Kissinger.
Oh, yeah, I really like that matchup. If they put some more attention on Thomas Spears, I think that Cal Kinziger could have a really big game. But for my pick, my first pick out of these next two, I'm actually going to go Brandon Deanda from Lakeview. And then for my second, I'm going to put a lot of trust in this Lakeview offense. I'm going to take two Lakeview guys in a row, take their both of their running backs because they split a lot. I'm taking Jacob Tensky. Hopefully, I can get all of their rushing output. And that's the plan. But it's back to Luke now.
Back to me. There's a guy from Central City who went off for 135 yards last week, and that was Turner Hankey. I'm gonna take him as my tight end this week.
And now Ryan has two picks.
Good pick, Luke. We all dropped the ball on that one last week.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how we didn't take Hankey as tight end last week, but
All right. So one of my picks, I'm going to take Blake Rathbone over there at Lakeview.
yeah, Blake's half brother Barack is a good friend of mine on the Central City football team.
I
Yeah,
really
it's kind of
like
the
Blake, actually. He's an awesome player, and I think I saw last year, I believe, versus SCOTUS. He really took over that game, and I think that he's a really special player, and I think that he maybe deserves a little more volume.
Yeah, a little tough with the Lakeview players though, without posting the stats on Max Preps, a little harder to find.
I have another pick, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
With my fifth pick, I'm going to take Cale Smith.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think he should get some more volume just to get him going for the next round. But Luke, you're up next.
Um, I'm gonna go back to the well. Last week I had Alex Doty. I'm gonna go back to him. I like what he can add both through the air and on the ground. I think that adds a lot of value for him.
Yeah, I agree. And for my next two picks, I'm gonna go with Bryson Wright from Shadron as my tight end. Maybe they just kind of sell out for stopping Quinn Bailey and kind of opens up some stuff for him. And my second pick, I'm gonna go Darian Whitaker from Boys Town. And now Luke, I believe, is this your last pick? No.
I have one more.
Yeah, okay.
Uh,
But we are on the last round, I believe. No.
it should be 7 rounds.
Yep,
Yeah,
okay.
this is round 6 of 7 here.
Either way, you're
Um, yeah, either way. I'll take Lance Holly, receiver from Sydney.
and now Ryan has to wrap around to the last round. He's gonna finish it off and start the last round.
So with my sixth pick, I'm going to go Tyler Seager, Boys Town. Go Cowboys. And my seventh pick, my final pick last week, my Mr. Irrelevant pick didn't quite pan out. So we're going to go with another Central City kid, another underdog, somebody who didn't even really play offense 2 weeks ago. But you never know. In a game like this, could have a breakout performance. Kid's a stud. Once was an offensive lineman. Now he actually gets to touch the ball. Makes me jealous because I never got to do that. Coulter Looters, my final pick.
Yeah, you can see Lewis get some touches. I think that's a good pick as a tight end, actually. Let's see. So that brings me back up. I need a flex. I'm gonna go over to Auburn. I'm gonna take their running back Brant Galizia. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but Auburn's running back. He's a really good defensive player too. As a side note, 92 tackles, 14 TFLs. But yeah.
And a really cool name.
Yeah. And for the final pick of this week's C1 fantasy draft, I'm going to take my quarterback, and this is a guy who had an awesome game against the same opponent a few weeks ago. I'm taking Derek Tones from Ashland Greenwood. I'm not 100% sure if I said that name right. The J kind of throws me off a little bit, but yeah, he had an awesome game, and I expect him to have another one here. Maybe a rushing touchdown this time. But yeah, that's going to conclude the full playoff preview and predictions as well as the fantasy team. I'm excited for this week of playoff games. This is going to be awesome. We've been waiting all year for these matchups, and I want to thank you guys for coming on. And just another reminder of where we guys can find you before we log off here.
I'll let you go first.
All right. So yeah, RN Sports. So, we are pretty much covering the Central City area, but we have a lot of, cool stuff that we're doing. So you never know where we're going to expand and be, but follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, buy a newspaper here in Central City. Find me a lot of places.
Uh Luke Mchargue. You can find some of my work on the Pastime Sports Network. It's a radio station, online radio. They cover sports in the Central City area. I've done basketball, I've done baseball. Haven't done football in a long time, but I did do a couple games in middle school. Um, but yeah, you can go find that. Josh Salmon is the head of that company. He's a really good guy, and they do a really good job with the broadcast. So if you can't make the Sim City game, you can listen to it there on the pastime as well. You can find me on Instagram as well, Mchargue_Luke. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys again for coming on and thank everyone here for listening. I would like to add, uh, whoever comes in either first or second place, if I win, I will be giving you guys a free graphic tee from my company, partnered with a Lucky Tee, Me Tee in Albion, Nebraska. I'm going to give you guys a free, whichever guys you want. It can be a football shirt, it can be whatever you want, and I'll have it for free and just kind of add a little bit of an incentive and gift. So yeah, thank you guys for coming and thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love everything you do on Instagram with shedding some light on Central City, Nebraska high school sport, or sorry, Nebraska high school sports. So thank you.
No problem.